Federal Drug Enforcement Administration says a week-long cartel crackdown led to nearly 200 arrests just in New England. The DEA says they were all members of the Sinaloa Cartel, the largest drug cartel in the world.
October 23, 2025. A quiet neighborhood in New England became the center of a massive DEA raid that exposed nearly 200 suspected Sinaloa Cartel members. But the real shock is not the arrests. It's what the federal agents found hidden behind them.
The cartels are all suppressing methamphetamine tablets, and these look exactly like an Adderall pill.
One of the most jaw-dropping cartel raids in recent American history did not happen on a dusty border with Mexico. It unfolded right in the heart of New England, close to Boston, and around 2,500 miles from El Paso, Texas, the closest US-Mexico border city. And this was not an hours-long raid. It lasted for a whole week, with DEA agents sweeping through communities and neighborhoods from Massachusetts to New Hampshire. When the dust settled, 200 people had been arrested and more than 500 pounds of drugs, including fentanyl, meth, and cocaine, were seized. This amount of the deadly drugs valued in the region of $550 to $700 million, and is potential enough to claim casualties in the tens of millions of American citizens. This was not some small-time street-level bust. It was so extensive that it even made its way to the Oval Office, making part of the daily security briefings given to President Trump by the security chiefs. Moreover, authorities framed it as a strategic strike directed at the world's most powerful drug trafficking organization, the Sinaloa Cartel. For the DEA, it was not about taking down an ordinary street dealer. It was about deconstructing a deeply entrenched criminal infrastructure that had quickly sprouted roots in the neighborhoods of New England, bringing about untold suffering among the residents. Agents later revealed how carefully the operation had been planned. Federal, state, and local teams worked in sync. The DEA gathered intel, Homeland Security tracked shipments, state police sealed the roads, and local officers made the entries. But the real shock wasn't the coordination, or even the arrests. It was what they discovered. Every location they hit was hiding in plain sight. Ordinary buildings, nothing suspicious. That raised a disturbing question. How long had the Sinaloa Cartel been operating openly in New England, right under the community's nose? And if they were this deeply embedded, what else had gone unnoticed? Among the evidence during the raid were smartphones that featured encrypted apps and social media platforms that the cartel was using to push narcotics into homes, schools, and even college campuses. The terrifying truth: kids were being targeted through social media, and getting lethal pills was as easy as ordering a hamburger. A couple of taps, a quick drop-off via Uber or FedEx, deadly drugs delivered like everyday packages. This was the tip that the agents needed to realize that this was no longer the old-school supply chain that cartels had adopted for decades. Instead, it was now a digital drug economy that connected suppliers and consumers with a simple tap on the phone. As such, this raid turned out to be more than just about product. It was a perfect shot at powerful connections, long-established channels, and a silent system that had woven itself into everyday life. The question now isn't just how the Sinaloa Cartel operated, but how it managed to stay under the radar for so long. And what happens next could change everything. And to understand how they stayed invisible, investigators had to look deeper into the structure behind the operation. Following the arrests, it became apparent that those captured were not ordinary guys within the network. They were high-ranking players that included logisticians, coordinators, and distributors. These were part of the core circle that saw the development of the cartels in New England to a fully fledged network. Soon, the eyes of the investigation zeroed in on Lawrence, Massachusetts, which the agents discovered to be the nerve center of the cartel's operations. Strategically located north of Boston, Lawrence offered logistical leverage in the form of access to major highways, such as Interstates 495 and 93, US Route 1, and Massachusetts Route 114. Lawrence also guaranteed a built-in distribution route into suburban markets, an aspect that worked perfectly in favor of the cartel. Operatives located in Lawrence were also found to be maintaining direct lines to cartel leaders in Mexico to coordinate large shipments of fentanyl and meth. In fact, the majority of the fentanyl seized during the raid was found to be straight from Lawrence. They see American deaths just as collateral damage, but the drugs were just the surface layer. The trail of paperwork the agents uncovered hinted at something far darker. After digging through both soft and hard data found in laptops and storage units, they found evidence of a perfectly concealed web of shell companies scattered across New England and the surrounding regions. On the surface, these companies could easily pass as small import businesses, cleaning services, or even consulting firms. However, their financial patterns led down a dark route. these fronts were quietly washing cartel profits, feeding illicit money into the legitimate economy with almost no scrutiny. To investigators, this was the clearest sign yet that the organization had not just entered New England. Instead, it had embedded itself and stuck its tentacles deep into the legitimate system. But what the agents uncovered next made other cartel operations seem like child's play. This is the perfect time for you to subscribe so that you don't miss on the bombshell that follows. The money laundering was one side of the operation, but the distribution network, the way drugs actually reached users, was even more alarming. Investigators found that the cartel has been using platforms to push its dangerous products into the hands of younger Americans. The network leverages platforms Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and encrypted services such as WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal were used to coordinate distribution. To add insult to injury, it also markets fake, brightly colored pills that mimic legitimate medicines like Adderall or oxycodone. In reality, these are just pressed fentanyl tablets that end up dragging unsuspecting young people into drugs addiction, which in turn means more money for the cartel. Once ordered, these lethal lookalikes are discreetly delivered via Uber or Lyft, or even through already trusted networks such as FedEx, UPS, or even the US Mail. Agents also discovered a worrying pattern. They found that during peak school periods, these fake pills are aggressively marketed to young people returning to campus. The promise is that they will help them concentrate during lectures. It was a move defined as an exploitative tactic that perfectly plays on academic stress. The worrying fact? DEA testing showed that more than 60% of these counterfeit pills contain lethal doses of fentanyl, an amount that could trigger seizures, heart attacks, and even death. Needless to say, this was a ticking time bomb that was just about to go off, and the repercussions would be devastating. What makes all these even more chilling is how even seasoned experts could not easily tell the difference between the fake pills and the real stuff. As DEA agents would later warn, pharmacy-grade fake is now indistinguishable from the real thing. The cartel has invested in expensive machines that press the pills and even brand them to look identical to prescription medicine. One thing was clear: cartels only care about profit and not about human life. For families, the message is simple: stay alert. Talk to your kids about fake pills, understand that cartels are active inside US neighborhoods, and ensure law enforcement has the support it needs to fight these networks. And while families absorb these warnings, law enforcement faces its own reality. It goes without saying that the New England bust represents a major win for America. It shows that as much as the cartels might be upping their game, the federal machinery is still steps ahead and still has what it takes to take down even the strongest criminal organization in the world. The 22,000 prevented another countless deaths of American citizens, and the message was clear. Only use the medicines prescribed by the doctor, because you never know what you might get. But the real takeaway goes further than just the haul. It's in what this reveals about the scale and adaptability of the Sinaloa Cartel. According to the DEA, the cartel-linked networks operate in nearly every US state now, and this means that almost every American is just one wrong move away from being a victim of its criminal activities. One DEA chief mentioned that this bust ought to serve as a wake-up call, not a final victory. It has revealed a shocking truth. Cartels are adapting rapidly by using branding, high-level logistics, and digital infrastructure almost like multinational corporations. Also, their presence is no longer confined to border towns. They have embedded themselves in cities, suburbs, and even in legal economies. With that, law enforcement must keep momentum. This battle is far from over, because these criminal networks are not about to stop evolving anytime soon.